Yeah. So, like I mentioned, this is about the Black History month. There were various different events that were happening this month in October, which hopefully you had the chance to attend. We had one of these sessions specifically about data earlier this month, but we decided to repeat it because there was a fair amount of interest in those. There is, Tahira, would you like to say a bit more about other events?
Thanks, Sami. So we are running a number of events happening. So I'll put the link in the chat. One of the things that we are running, which the BAME Staff Network and the All Out Network have jointly agreed to host, is a very interesting documentary, Under Your Nose, which is around the beginnings of the AIDS pandemic and just the misconceptions of racism and everything that was tied into the lack of awareness and understanding and the sort of civil rights fights that began. So it's a very interesting documentary, and all the details of all the events, some of which are still running into November, will be posted on StaffNet. And also we have Disability History Month coming up, and we've got great speakers for events that are being organised there. So while Sami and Lauren are talking, I'll post those in the chat. Thank you, Sami.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Tahira. So we've got still a lot of interesting events, hopefully, for you. Today, specifically, we're going to be talking about data, a bit of what it is, what that means, how we analyzing data at the university. So I'm going to start now a little bit with an introduction in terms of what do we mean by Black. So Lauren, if you could change the slide, please. So ethnicity mapping. Ethnicity mapping is not always easy. Actually, it's almost always very, very difficult because we are trying to put something which is very, very complex, like people's background, into specified categories. But we have to do in order to have some data, in order to have some analytics. It is very difficult. So, for example, if you take myself, I am half Polish and half Sudanese, but there is no option in census to say Black Eastern European, right? So I have to find some other category, which would probably be mixed white and Black African, which is the closest to that. But we are trying to put some categories in order to count them. So in terms of what constitutes as Black, you've got some examples here from Office of National Statistics. So you've got Black, Black British, Black Welsh, Black Caribbean or African, and also other Black background. And here at the University of Manchester, we also have Black or Black British as a one category, which includes of Black African, Black Caribbean, and other Black background. And we can analyze to know what proportion of our staff accounts for this Black or Black British category, etc. So there is, so we are trying to follow the Office of National Statistics and Higher Education Statistical Agency categorization as much as we can. And sometimes we're doing some additional stuff if it's a survey, like Race Equality Charter survey, etc., about which I'm going to be talking a bit more later. So now Lauren is going to do some work. She's going to give you a bit of a quiz so that you can test your own perceptions about the UK's Black population and what you know already. So back to Lauren.
Thank you, Sami. So yeah, as Sami said, we're now going to do an interactive quiz. This is different to the quiz questions in our original session. So the quiz is made up of 6 questions, testing your perception of Black populations within the UK and especially within higher education. With each question, please put your answers in the chat, after which I will reveal the answer. And don't worry, you won't lose any points for incorrect answers. And we also provide any public data resources should you be interested to look further into these subjects. So the first question starts broad, asking what percentage of Greater Manchester's population identify as Black? And this is according to the 2021 census data. We visualize the Greater Manchester area we're referring to in the visual. So could you please put the answers you think to be true, A, B, C, or D, into the chat? I'll allow you a moment to do this. Okay, so most of you are putting the higher options, a lot for D, 11%. So I will now, or someone's unsure. So I will now reveal that the answer is B for 5%, is the Greater Manchester's population of people that identified as Black. So on to the next question. This question focuses on diversity of leadership roles in the public sector, asking which of these workforces have the highest proportion of Black staff in leadership roles. And the leadership roles which are in question are indicated inside the bracket. So, for example, for school teacher data, we're asking for a percentage of all UK head teachers. For NHS workers, it's the percentage of all senior managers, and so on. So again, if you could put your answers in the chat, please. Okay. A lot of you I'm seeing think it's NHS workforce. Some of you think it may be head teachers. Okay, so the answer was C. The majority of you had guessed that correctly. It was NHS workforce, with 3.4% of all senior managers being Black. So here we have ranked the proportions of these four occupations alongside the proportion of Black staff within our own university at grades 8 and 9, which is 1.1%. So the following questions are to do with the Black communities within higher education. Higher education data is collected and shared by the Higher Education Statistics Agency. So such important statistical reports on staff member characteristics allows organisations to ensure sufficient time and resources are being allocated to the correct spaces to best benefit its workforce. First, focusing on staff data, I ask, which of these four Russell Group universities do you think had the highest proportion of Black staff members in 2022? And this question considers only substantive members of staff. So again, you can please put your answers in the chat. So
Is she frozen? You muted, Tahira.
I was saying, yeah, you're leaving us in suspense, Lauren.
Okay, I will.
She's just going to rejoin.
Cool, no problem. I will pause.
B's and D's there.
yeah, so these are the four options plotted. Those of you that voted London School of Economics and Political Science were correct, as they have the highest proportion of Black staff members with 9.3%. And we've plotted all of the Russell Group universities in this, and you can see where we rank in this list. We rank 5th with 3.1%. And this is the data that's made available with PISA. So now focusing on data collected in-house within our own university, what percentage of UK domiciled students within the University of Manchester are Black? And this is for the 2022 to 23 academic year. Should be able to. I see that a lot of you are going for the sort of safe answers in the middle range, with B's and C's being highly popular. So the answer is 5%. So for the 2022 to 23 academic year, 5% of all our UK domiciled students to be Black. And here we have plotted the proportions of the high-level ethnic groups for comparison. So we will now employ an intersectional analysis, looking at the intersection of different parts of an individual's identity to provide an improved view of areas requiring progression. So this question focuses on student data, asking, within the University of Manchester, what proportion of UK domiciled Black students are male? A lot of people think it's the lower band. Some of you voting for closer to 50%. So I'll now go to the next slide. So the answer is actually, well, some of you had guessed it correctly, 35%. And interestingly, of all those high-level ethnic groups, the difference in the number of male to female students is largest within the Black community. So now a staff-centric question asking, what proportion of women staff members within the University of Manchester are Black? Again, many of you are voting for the lower range answers between A and B. Okay, so those of you which voted A, 3%, were correct. And again, we plot those high-level ethnic groups for comparison. So we will now pause for discussion, though I imagine you might have had some when I dropped off earlier. But this is a space for anything to discuss anything you might have found interesting off the back of that quiz, or to ask myself, Sami, and Tahira questions whilst it's still fresh in your head. I believe Sami will stop recording for this bit.
Okay, so a bit about the so you've seen examples of data and how it's analyzed, but here's a bit more about why do we do it. So there are various legal, moral, and business considerations for the University of Manchester and also for the other universities. So we do have to abide by the Equality Act 2010 and also public sector duty, of which one of the objectives is transparency. And you can see the here the cover on the left-hand side of Equality Information Report, which is something that we have to provide on our website annually. And also we are required to publish differences between average pay for men and women. In addition, we are also calculating ethnicity and disability pay gaps as well. Equality and diversity inclusion is part of our people, our values, the University of Manchester strategy. And we also taking part in various different charter marks and benchmarking activities. You have badges of them on this slide. So Disability Confident, Stonewall Equality Index, which looks at inclusion of our LGBTQ staff. Athena Swan, which looks at the gender equality at the university, and Race Equality Charter, which looks at the issues of ethnicity. And these are exercises where we submit data to regulators and they look at our progress over the last 3 to 5 years in terms of equality, diversity, inclusion. And also the our EDI analysis and that kind of data that you've seen just now is used for other issues. We've had discussion about students. So Office for Students has access and participation plans, where we look at the differences of various groups in terms of the attainment, non-continuation, and the general experience at the university. And we also look at the diversity of researchers and academics for Research Excellence Framework. So there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done for us. Next slide, please. So now a bit, I'm going to talk a little bit, give you some examples of impact of how this analysis has been used. So this is the first example from Manchester Gold Mentoring. So Manchester Gold is managed by the Learning and Organizational Development team and aims to support staff career development across the university by linking them with the support of a more experienced colleagues. So one of the ways that we are using ethnicity data is to look at the participation among mentors and mentees in Manchester Gold. And as you can see from this chart, the participation of ethnic minorities first, we've had an insight that it's quite low. And so we were able to target and try to recruit a bit more mentors and mentees from ethnic minorities. And we managed to increase their participation in the program quite substantially, which is quite good because that means that we have a larger diversity of people who can benefit from Manchester Gold mentoring. Next slide, please. Another example, which is quite similar to mentoring, which is Inclusive Advocates. So this is a program where people from lower grades, ethnic minorities, can be matched with a senior leader, a senior advocate, who is going to help them in understanding where they are in their career and how they can progress for the future. In 2020-21, we've run a pilot. We had 22 pairs of participants, a grade 5 to 7, and senior advocates who took part. And quite a large amount of them later progress with their career, which is great. And obviously, in order to know that, we need to collect information about ethnicity, analyze it, and make sure that we have very good data about the university employees. Yep, the next slide, please. So one of the questions that Lauren asked earlier was intersectional. And we do analysis of intersectional analysis to make sure that we know not just how many Black staff there are, but also how many Black women, Black disabled staff, etc. So one of the interesting programs that we are running is 100 Black women professors, which so this aims to address intersectional underrepresentation, particularly of Black women at higher grades. At the moment at the university, we have only one Black female professor. So the University of Manchester is one of the first institutes to take part in this flagship program, acknowledging and taking action to address the underrepresentation of Black women in all areas of academia, and is offering up to 10 fully funded places to eligible University of Manchester academics, and this is a 12-month program. And obviously, we do need to analyze ethnicity data in order to see who would be eligible to join, and also later what the impact of this program is going to be. Next slide, please, Ron. So this is another example. This is something which is actually running at the moment. So the Stella HE is a leadership development program for Black, Asian, ethnic diversity individuals in higher education. And this has been specifically developed and implemented to help in creating leadership strategies that reflect unique challenges and experiences of Black, Asian, ethnically diverse academic and professional staff across higher education. Tahira, would you like to say a bit more about the Stella?
Thank you, Sami. So we're actually recruiting for this right now. So this is live on StaffNet, and I've posted it in the chat. This is for colleagues, that have some experience of either supervisory or management. So it could be staff that are at maybe grade 5 or grade 6, but that have some experience. So the idea of Stella is to help them to develop their sort of confidence, more strategic thinking for higher levels of management opportunities. So each year we've been doing this for the sort of last 3 or 4 years. The university supports 8 applicants across the 3 faculties and PS services. So it's 2 per faculty and 2 per PS areas. And there is an application form that they need to fill in. We've created the application form because it goes to the EDI leads to shortlist. So you may see that Stella has their own application. So if you know colleagues are interested, please ask them to go to the StaffNet link that I've put in the chat. It's a very, very good opportunity in terms of reflection, of finding a good peer support group, inspirational speakers, and just talking a little bit more about actually what are your aspirations. So it's very kind of factored into the individuals to develop their sort of confidence and their experiences. So we've heard a really positive feedback. There's also residential as part of it. So as I say, if you do know colleagues that you think could benefit from this, or just share across your teams, that would be greatly appreciated. The other event that I've put in that is following us is Disability History Month as well, and we've included a guest talk that we've got there from a very inspirational speaker, and I think if you can share that, that would be really good. That is also going to be an event open up to MMU. So if you want to sort of book your sort of free tickets and so on, that would be brilliant. It's hybrid and in person. Thanks, Sami.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Tahir. So now we also mentioned students. So one of the things that we do for students is Manchester Access Program. So the Manchester Access Program is the University Central Widening Participation Scheme for local Year 12 students in Greater Manchester. It aims to help students who meet specific criteria gain a place at the University of Manchester or another research intense university through our online and on-campus events, workshops, and an academic assignment. And we constantly look at what proportion of those who benefit are from Black or ethnic minority backgrounds, to make sure that our student body is as diverse as possible. In addition to that, we also have got some other programs like within Insight Mentoring, which ran in 2020. And that was a pilot which looks at pairing 30 local Black A-level pupils with Black university student mentors. And in 2021, the scheme was expanded, and evaluation found that 94% of mentees felt that having a Black mentor was important for them. So we constantly also analyzing the data for student population as well, in order to make sure that we are making progress in terms of diversity of our student population. This issue also is very, very complex, like we've discussed earlier, but this is one of the examples of the programs we tries to address that issue. Next slide, please. So that was all in terms of the impact. Here, I'm trying to bring this back a bit together to what do we collect? So we are required to collect from staff and students the following characteristics: age, disability, gender reassignment, pregnancy, maternity, paternity, and various different types of leave. Ethnicity, which was the main topic of discussion today, religion or belief, sex, and sexual orientation. And in order to make all of this analysis impactful and to make sure that all of those programs that I've mentioned just earlier work, we need as good quality data as possible on all of these. Next slide, please. As you can see, we are trying to make sure that everybody discloses, shares the protected characteristics with us. We've got 100% for sex and age, and high 90s for nationality and ethnicity. But for religion, sexual orientation, only about 74% of our staff at the University of Manchester discloses them or shares them with us through our MyView system. And obviously, we would like it to be as high as possible, so that we can do all of the analysis and making sure that we are making impact. And for disability, is difficult to say because we've got different data coming from our people and organizational development system, and different from disability advisory support service. But so the estimation is that about 50% of staff actually shares the disability. So you also would like to think and encourage colleagues to share their protected characteristics so that we can do the analysis. Next slide, please. So this is the way how you can do it. So you can share your protected characteristics in MyView. So this is the same place where you can see your payslip. And just make sure that your details are up to date, and please tell your colleagues to make sure also that their details are up to date as well. Next slide. Yes, so this is everything that we were planning for today. I'm going to stop recording.